The observation deck of Quarantine Station Epsilon hummed with the usual background noise of life support systems and distant conversations. Vrek'tal pressed his 6 fingers against the transparent aluminum barrier, his triple eyelids blinking in rapid succession. A nervous habit, one he had developed over 3 cycles of working in xenobiology. "You are staring again," chirped Mika, his assistant. Her scales shimmered with amusement, an unfortunate tell that betrayed her emotions every single time. "They are unpredictable," Vrek'tal muttered, watching the newest arrivals to the station. Humans. 5 of them, standing in the containment habitat like they owned the place. Which, given their species' track record, they probably thought they did. The lead human, a female with copper-colored hair tied back in something the database called a ponytail, was examining the force field perimeter with entirely too much interest. Her name tag read Collins. Behind her, a male with dark skin and an impressive collection of scars leaned against the wall, arms crossed, looking thoroughly bored. The council classified them as Category 7, Mika reminded him, pulling up the holographic display. Untrainable, ungovernable, and extremely hazardous to station protocol. The recommendation is observation only, minimal contact, maximum barriers. Vrek'tal's throat sacs inflated with skepticism. Every species can be understood. That is the foundation of our work. We have successfully integrated 43 different sentient races into the Galactic Collective. 43 species that follow logical behavioral patterns, Mika countered. Humans are different. Different was an understatement. The reports made his cranial ridges ache. Humans had somehow survived and thrived on a death world where everything from the microorganisms to the weather patterns seemed designed to eliminate complex life. They ate substances that were toxic to most species and called it cuisine. They kept predators as companions and called them pets. They had taken the concept of persistence hunting, something most species abandoned after developing basic tools, and turned it into recreational activities. The real concern, though, was their ability to bond with literally anything. "Sir," one of the junior technicians called out, his voice climbing several octaves. "The humans are approaching the Krovik containment sector." Vrek'tal spun around so fast his balance sacs protested. "What?" "Lock it down. Activate secondary barriers." Through the monitors, he watched Collins and her companion, whose name was apparently Marcus, standing outside the reinforced cell containing a Krovik Alpha. The creature was massive, easily 3 times their height, with claws that could shred titanium plating and a temperament that made volcanic eruptions look predictable. They had spent 2 full cycles trying to sedate it enough for basic medical examination. It had destroyed 4 drones and injured 6 staff members, and these 2 humans were just looking at it. "Can you patch me through to them?" Vrek'tal asked, his voice tight. "Audio only. They do not have visual implants." "Humans." Vrek'tal's voice boomed through the speakers. "Step away from that containment unit immediately. That specimen is classified as extreme danger level." Collins tilted her head, glancing around to locate the source of his voice. "Hey there, tall, blue and bossy. What is this big guy's deal?" "Its deal is that it will tear you into component parts if given the opportunity," Vrek'tal snapped. "Return to your designated area at once." Marcus laughed, actually laughed, like Vrek'tal had told some kind of amusing anecdote. "Buddy, we have got grizzly bears back home. This thing just looks like a cranky cat that skipped breakfast." "A cat?" Mika whispered beside him, pulling up the reference. "That is a small domesticated predator. How is that comparable to a Krovik?" The Krovik, as if understanding it had been insulted, slammed against the barrier with enough force to make the entire deck shudder. Its roar was deep enough to rattle bone structures, a sound that had sent every other species on the station running for shelter the first time they heard it. Collins did not even flinch. Instead, she crouched down, making herself smaller, and looked directly at the creature's eyes. "Hey there, sweetheart. Rough day, huh?" "Yeah, I would be mad too if they stuck me in a box." "She is attempting communication," Vrek'tal breathed. "Mika, increase monitor sensitivity. Record everything. You think she knows what she is doing?" "I think she is about to prove our assessment either brilliantly correct or catastrophically wrong." Marcus pulled something from his pocket. A small container. He opened it, and even through the monitors, Vrek'tal could see it was some kind of preserved food. "Collins, you thinking what I am thinking?" "Only one way to find out," she replied, standing up. She tapped the console beside the containment unit, the one specifically marked with 17 different warning symbols. "Hey, blue guy on the intercom? How do I crack open this barrier just a little bit? Like, gap it maybe 20 centimeters?" Every single alarm in Vrek'tal's nervous system fired simultaneously. "Absolutely not. That barrier remains sealed. You do not have authorization, training, or apparently any sense of self-preservation. Look, Collins said, her voice taking on a tone that Vrek'tal would later learn humans called reasonable, which usually preceded something wildly unreasonable. I spent 6 years working with big cats at a wildlife sanctuary on Earth. Trust me, I can read predator body language in my sleep. This guy is not actually aggressive. He is scared and stressed out. Everything about his posture screams defensive, not offensive. Mika pulled up the behavioral analysis data. She is correct. The Krovik stance is primarily protective, not predatory. How did she assess that in 30 seconds when our entire team has been analyzing it for weeks? Because humans co-evolved with predators, Marcus added helpfully. It is kind of our thing. So, you going to open this up, or do we need to get creative? Because fair warning, Collins gets really creative when she is bored. Vrek'tal felt a headache forming behind his ocular ridge. The human woman was calmly standing in front of a creature that could kill her in approximately 4 seconds, suggesting he lower the only thing preventing that outcome, but the data did not lie. Her assessment matched what the computers had been trying to tell them for cycles. Mika, he said slowly. Reduce barrier field strength by 40%. Lower quadrant only. Maintain emergency protocols. Sir, this is against every regulation. So is letting our guests dismantle station security because we did not cooperate. Humans excel at improvisation, usually in ways that violate physics and common sense. I would rather control this situation than watch them create a new one. The barrier flickered, creating a narrow opening near the floor. The Krovik's eyes, all 6 of them, tracked the movement. Collins moved with careful deliberation, no sudden motions. She took the food container from Marcus and placed it just inside the barrier's edge. Then she stepped back, still crouched low, still making herself less threatening. Come on, big guy, she murmured. I bet nobody here knows what you actually eat, right? Probably been trying to feed you standard protein blocks? Yeah, thought so. Try this. It is jerky. Dried meat. Not quite fresh, but way better than processed garbage. The Krovik sniffed, its massive head swinging toward the offering. One claw extended, then another. It moved with surprising grace for something so large, reaching for the container, and then it ate, not with the violent aggression Vrek'tal had expected, but with almost delicate precision. Holy stars, Mika breathed. It is working. Marcus grinned. Earth survival tip number 1, everything is less cranky when it is fed properly. Works for humans, works for aliens, probably works for this guy too. Over the next hour, Vrek'tal watched something that should have been impossible. The human female, Collins, established what could only be called rapport with the Krovik. She did not try to touch it, did not invade its space, but she talked to it in that strange, soothing cadence humans used with their companion animals. While the time station evening cycle began, the Krovik was calm enough that the medical team could approach with scanners. It still watched everyone with suspicion, but it no longer tried to destroy everything within reach. Collins emerged from the sector looking entirely too pleased with herself. So, she said, meeting Vrek'tal's gaze through the observation window. About this whole untrainable, ungovernable thing? I am going to need you to update those files. That boy in there just needed someone who spoke his language. Which, apparently, none of you do. Vrek'tal stared at her, his thoughts cycling through disbelief, academic curiosity, and something that might have been respect. How, he finally managed. How did you know what to do? Collins shrugged, a peculiarly human gesture that conveyed infinite nuance depending on context. Back home, we have got this saying. Actions speak louder than words. That Krovik was telling you exactly what he needed. You just were not listening right. Happens a lot with experts, actually. They get so caught up in data and protocols that they forget to just pay attention. Marcus joined her, still munching on something from his apparently endless supply of Earth food. Plus, we are good at the whole making friends with dangerous things situation. It is basically our species' superpower. Give us anything with teeth, claws, venom, or attitude problems, and we will either tame it, befriend it, or at minimum, confuse it long enough to survive. Mika looked at Vrek'tal, her scales now displaying genuine worry. Sir, the council is not going to believe this report. No, Vrek'tal agreed, watching Collins laugh at something Marcus said. No, they absolutely will not. Which is why we are going to document everything. Every interaction, every assessment, every impossible thing these humans accomplish. You think there will be more? He looked at the Krovik, now resting peacefully in its habitat, then back at the humans who had managed in one afternoon what trained xenobiologists could not accomplish in weeks. Mika, he said quietly, I think we have not even begun to understand what humans are capable of. And I suspect that is going to be both the most fascinating and most terrifying aspect of this assignment. Collins caught his eye again and winked, An earth gesture his database informed him indicated playful acknowledgement. Vrek'tal's headache intensified. This was going to be a very long posting. The morning cycle began with what Vrek'tal would later describe in his official report as an incident of catastrophic proportions, though Mika preferred the term absolute chaos wrapped in human logic. He arrived at the observation deck to find 3/4 of his staff clustered around Monitor Bank 7, all talking at once in various frequencies of distress. What now? He asked, though part of him already knew the answer would somehow involve Collins and her crew. The humans, stammered Plix, a junior researcher whose color-changing membranes were flashing distress patterns so fast they looked like a malfunctioning light display. They are in Section 12. Vrek'tal felt his circulatory system skip several beats. Section 12? The quarantine wing? That area is sealed off for a reason. How did they even access it? They asked nicely, Plix said miserably. And the security AI thought their request was logged properly. Apparently, humans are very convincing when they want to be. Through the monitors, Vrek'tal could see all 5 humans now. Besides Collins and Marcus, there was Jamie, a younger male with bright eyes who seemed fascinated by literally everything. Okoye, a female whose calm demeanor somehow made her more intimidating than if she had been openly aggressive. And Torres, who spoke 6 languages and had already started learning Galactic Common with unsettling speed. They were standing in front of the Skreeth containment sphere. No, 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 Vrek'tal chanted, rushing toward the transport tube. Mika, get emergency response on standby. And find out who gave them access codes. The Skreeth were a problem the Galactic Collective had been struggling with for nearly a decade. Parasitic, aggressive, and possessing a hive intelligence that made them nearly impossible to communicate with. The specimens in Section 12 were the last survivors of a colony ship that had gone dark 3 cycles ago. Every attempt at contact had resulted in violence. By the time Vrek'tal reached Section 12, slightly winded and definitely panicking, he found the humans doing something that defied every protocol in the handbook. They were playing music. What is that noise? Vrek'tal demanded, his translator struggling with the complex sounds pouring from a small device Torres held. Jazz, Torres replied, not looking away from the Skreeth sphere. Specifically, Old Earth jazz from the 20th century. Watch the Skreeth. Look at their movement patterns. Against his better judgment, Vrek'tal looked. The Skreeth, normally a chaotic mass of writhing forms, were moving in patterns. Synchronized patterns. Almost like they were responding to the rhythm. How did you? He started. Jamie figured it out, Collins said, gesturing to the young man who was scribbling notes on a datapad with enthusiasm that bordered on mania. Show him, kid. Jamie practically bounced over. Okay, so, check this out. You guys have been trying to communicate with them using standard linguistic protocols, right? Verbal, written, mathematical? But Skreeth do not process information linearly. Their entire biology is rhythm-based. Look at their cellular structure. See how it pulses? That is not random. That is communication. Vrek'tal pulled up the biological scans. The boy was correct. How had his entire team missed something so fundamental? Humans have extensive experience with rhythm-based communication, Okoye added, her voice measured and professional. Music, dance, percussion. Many Earth cultures used these methods long before written language. We simply applied the same principles here. Marcus grinned. Plus, everything is better with jazz. Universal truth right there. As Vrek'tal watched, Torres adjusted something on his device, and the music shifted. The Skreeth responded immediately, their formation changing. They were not attacking. They were not showing aggression. They were communicating. This is impossible, Vrek'tal whispered. Buddy, Marcus said, clapping him on what he probably thought was the shoulder but was actually a sensory organ, you really need to stop using that word around us. Humans kind of specialize in impossible. It is like our whole deal. Over the following days, Vrek'tal watched his carefully ordered facility transform into something resembling controlled chaos. The humans moved through the station like a force of nature, leaving changed perspectives and solved problems in their wake. Jamie spent hours with the crystal lid researchers, those stiff academic types who had not smiled in living memory, and somehow got them laughing at his terrible jokes while revolutionizing their approach to mineral-based life forms. Turns out, sometimes you need someone who thinks rocks are exciting to understand beings made of rocks. Torres became the unofficial translator for 3 different species who had been having communication difficulties for months. He simply sat down with each group, learned their context and idioms, and found the common ground everyone else had missed. Okoye took one look at the station's inefficient resource distribution system and reorganized it in an afternoon. When the logistics coordinator objected that her method violated established procedures, she politely pointed out that established procedures were wasting 40% of available resources. The coordinator had no counterargument, but it was Collins who continued to baffle and impress Vrek'tal in equal measure. She had moved on from the Krovik to working with the Yalthan, a species that communicated primarily through color changes and bioluminescence. Most translators found them exhausting to work with because the nuance was so complex. Collins learned their color language in 3 days. How? Vrek'tal finally asked, cornering her in the commissary where she was eating something that smelled like chemical warfare. She looked up from her food, surprised by the question. How what? How do you do any of this? You have no formal xenobiology training. Your species has only known about alien life for what, 50 of your years? Yet you walk in here and solve problems that have stumped experts for cycles. I need to understand. Collins set down her utensil, considering. You want the real answer or the answer that sounds good in reports? The real one. Okay. Here it is. You think too much. Vrek'tal's throat sacs deflated in confusion. What? You analyze everything to death. You have protocols for protocols. You study and measure and categorize until you forget that you are dealing with living beings who just want the same things everyone wants. Safety, comfort, understanding, maybe a decent meal now and then. She gestured with her food. That Krovik? He was scared. The Skreeth? They were lonely and trying to reach out the only way they knew how. The Yalthan? They just wanted someone to really see them, not just document their color shifts. But the procedures exist for safety, Vrek'tal protested. For order. Sure. And they have their place. But sometimes you need to trust your gut. Humans are good at that because we had to be. For most of our history, we did not have fancy sensors or universal translators. We had to read body language, pick up on emotional cues, make quick decisions based on incomplete information. Those instincts do not just go away because we got better technology. Marcus appeared behind her, because apparently humans could teleport when food was involved. Also, we are kind of stubborn. Tell us something cannot be done, and we take it as a personal challenge. It is a flaw and a strength. Mostly a flaw, Torres added, joining them. But occasionally useful. Vrek'tal sat down heavily, his body language conveying exhaustion. The council is going to require a full report on human integration potential. After everything I have witnessed, I do not even know where to begin. Begin with the truth, Okoye suggested, her expression kind. We are messy. We are unpredictable. We break rules and question authority and refuse to accept limitations. But we also adapt, empathize, and persist. You cannot train those qualities into someone. They are just part of who we are. The galaxy is not going to know what to do with you, Vrek'tal said, something between admiration and concern coloring his voice. Collins laughed. Trust me, Earth did not know what to do with us either. We figured it out anyway. That is kind of our thing. 3 weeks later, Vrek'tal stood in the station command center, preparing to present his findings to the Galactic Council. His report had grown to 3 times the expected length and still felt inadequate. Behind him, through the observation windows, he could see the transformation his station had undergone. Species that had been kept separate due to compatibility concerns were now interacting peacefully, with humans serving as unexpected bridges. Problems that had seemed unsolvable were being addressed with creative solutions nobody had thought to try. The entire facility hummed with new energy. The council members materialized in holographic form, their expressions ranging from curious to skeptical. Xenobiologist Vrek'tal, the head counselor, began. Your preliminary reports have been unconventional. Please present your assessment of human integration potential. Vrek'tal took a breath, steadying himself. Honored Council, humans are unlike any species we have encountered. They are classified as Category 7, ungovernable and untrainable. This classification is accurate. It is also irrelevant. Murmurs rippled through the council. Humans do not need to be governed or trained, he continued. They need to be understood. They possess innate abilities in empathy, adaptation, and creative problem-solving that surpass our current models. In 3 weeks, they have resolved situations that challenged us for cycles. Not through superior technology or intelligence, but through intuition and willingness to question established methods. You are recommending full integration, another counselor asked skeptically. I am recommending we accept that humans will integrate themselves whether we recommend it or not. They are already forming bonds across species barriers we thought were permanent. They are already solving problems we considered intractable. The question is not whether humans belong in the galactic community. The question is whether we are prepared for what they will bring to it. The head counselor was quiet for a long moment. This is highly irregular. Humans are highly irregular, Vrek'tal agreed. That is precisely their value. They see possibilities where we see limitations. They attempt solutions we would never consider. Yes, they are frustrating. Yes, they ignore protocols. Yes, they will absolutely drive every structured species to distraction. But they also represent something we have lost. The ability to look at the impossible and try anyway. Behind him, he heard the door open. Collins stepped in, probably not authorized to be there, definitely not caring about that fact. Sorry to interrupt, she said cheerfully. But that Verdaxian delegation just arrived, and they are having some kind of crisis. Something about their ship's AI developing existential anxiety? Anyway, Torres is talking it down with philosophy podcasts, but I figured you would want to know. She left as quickly as she had entered, the council stared. You see? Vrek'tal said helplessly. This is my life now. And somehow, it works. Somehow, they make it work. The head counselor's expression might have been a smile. Hard to tell with crystalline beings. Very well, xenobiologist. Continue your observations. And Vrek'tal? Good luck. You are going to need it. The hologram's faded. Vrek'tal looked out at his station, watching Jamie explain something to a confused Geckler with wild hand gestures, Okoye mediating a dispute between two species who had been feuding for generations, Marcus somehow getting the cafeteria AI to produce Earth coffee, and Collins, standing by the Krovik habitat, the massive creature now calm enough to approach the barrier when she visited, its eyes tracking her movements with something that might have been affection. Impossible. Creatures, solving impossible problems, Mika appeared beside him. So, what do we do now? Vrek'tal's throat sacs inflated with resignation and, surprisingly, amusement. Now we hold on tight and try to keep up. Because whether the galaxy is ready or not, humans are here. And nothing is going to be the same. Through the window, Collins caught his eye and raised her coffee cup in salute. Vrek'tal found himself returning the gesture. Yes, this was definitely going to be a very long posting, but maybe, just maybe, it would also be the most interesting one.